Hi, I'm Sally Thibault, and I thought what I would do for the next little while, my daughter is here, and I wanted to interview her, have a little chat about her experiences with EFT, how she feels that EFT could actually help women her age in their career. And the last and final question I've already asked her to do is to share her experiences and how she thinks I have changed since I have done EFT. So I'd like to introduce you to my daughter, Alissa. No, she's not adopted. I know.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
You can see that we're very alike. You know, she actually looks into her future every time she looks at me.
Same.
So, Alissa, so wonderful to have you home, actually. Very exciting. I don't have many children anymore living at home.
And nice so to have somebody cook for me too.
Yeah. Jerry made a bit of an extra effort last night because she was home. It was really lovely. So you've been using EFT, tapping for a little while now. I think probably, about 18 months, maybe 2 years since we first started, since you stopped thinking it was something strange that I was doing. So Alissa, can you share a little bit about your experiences with EFT and how you think it's helped you, in particular, your life and in your career?
I think when we first started, because originally it did seem a little bit like gobbledygook, kind of just, what is that? I'm not sure. And then kind of as we moved through it, and I think the more that we talked about it and things that were coming up for me, and you know, the more things started happening, the more you could realize that it was just a pattern. And so when I was developing through my career and I was realizing I was coming up with the same blocks all the time, it was good to be able to go back with this technique and work out where they were coming from and where it started from. And like we've mentioned a lot of times, it's often really weird and obscure, tiny things you think, what? How do I still care about that? I still miss that bunny. Is that what that was? Or that toy that I didn't get? Is that what I'm still upset about? And I think, at the same time, that's still your story. So as insignificant and as tiny as it seems, it's still something that you carry with you and it's still your stuff. So, even other people might not want to hear about it, but it's still something that you need to deal with. And if you don't deal with it, then you can't move forward and it's still going to keep coming up. So I think, broadly speaking, that's probably the biggest thing that I found is, little insecurities or little thoughts that I've had through my career and even my personal life that, you just think are kind of normal, but they all started somewhere. So it was good to delve deep and go, I get it now. Yeah.
And what was really interesting, I think, that in many things that kept happening in your career, were really linked to similar events when you were a child, in particular at school. So how other kids treated you, there's times when you weren't acknowledged by teachers, times when you tried so hard and acknowledged. And there was also a wonderful time we actually laugh about stealing some blocks or something from the classroom and how bad you felt about it. And I think you were in year 2 or something like that. But it was really interesting to go back and explore that and see how that had set up these patterns now in your life. So tell me, especially in your career, how would you see that this would help other women like you who are working their way through their career? It's a very important time in your life. How do you think EFT tapping would actually help women your age?
Mostly for me, this little period has been about self-confidence and self-belief especially. And so the little thought process that I had, even though I had these big dreams and these big goals, and we've talked about this before, you're like, this is where I want to go, but then the little voice in the back of your head was like, you probably can't, let's be honest. So I think it's more about finding where those little voices came from, because, even though they can be tiny, but over a period of time, they build and they build and they can eat away at your self-belief in what you can and can't actually do. And I mean, working in the media, no one really knows what they're doing, so you just kind of have to go out and do it. But unless you think that you can actually do it, then you're not going to go anywhere. So I think in terms of my career, even though I've always had these really big dreams, there's always been these little self-doubts that have held me back from really pursuing things and really putting myself out there and taking a few risks. And I think once we started finding where those little beliefs came from, and then we could work through it. And it was always I get it, or makes sense. But it was still something that needed to be acknowledged, and then we could move through it. So I think in terms of career-wise and where I am at the moment, like just removing those blocks to be able to set a really solid foundation for something that I really want to do, and we can move forward. And now I've kind of rated my path, and I'm heading down in the right direction now. So, but that's just a matter of clearing stuff that I didn't think that I could do.
And we're back again. We just had a little technical issue. We're going to continue on this fabulous interview I'm doing with my daughter, Alissa. And the question I wanted to ask Alissa now is, how does she think I've changed since doing EFT, and also how our relationship has changed since I began this journey of tapping? Ooh. So I'm prepared for the honesty.
Yeah, you're okay?
I tap. It's okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready. Okay.
Well, well, I think, and as I've actually said this before, but the biggest thing I found is that you're actually more approachable now as a mum. And as we were saying, as you said before, you and I talk every day, and unless I was totally honest with you, I'd run out of things to talk about. Let's be honest. So. But I think what I've learned, what you've learned through this whole process, is that everybody does things, and people make subconscious decisions based on their upbringing and things that have happened to them in their lives. So there's often times that things will just arise, and it's through no fault of their own. It's just a reflection of what they believe about themselves and where they've come from and all that kind of stuff. So I think I've been able to have these really open and honest conversations with you and be like, hey, Mum, this happened. And, for you to go, okay, well, what's going on for you? Why is it that you chose to do that or something, as opposed to, well, that wasn't very smart, was it? So, we can have those kind of honest conversations, be like, okay, well, look, this is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking. This is what's been happening. How do I work through this? How do I deal with it? And and that often comes from stuff with my upbringing in my childhood, and you were there, so you'd know. but we've been able to talk about it without judgment and without all the emotions surrounding it, all this kind of stuff. And I know there's been times where you've been like, whoops, sorry, but it's we can work through that. We can have those totally open conversations, and we know that it's not coming from a place of malice or anything like that. It's just how it is.
And I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts that I've found with EFT, is that I can have a different conversation and a different relationship with my children, because I'm not into blaming them, judging them. Rather, every time something arises, I go straight to, okay, what's really happening here? What's going on? Let's look at the pattern. And so for me as a mother, what it allows my own children to do is to feel much more in control and direction for their lives, and you kind of hand back the confidence to your child, recognizing that they are in total control of their lives, that everything that happens is just a pattern. How you respond is just a pattern. There's no right or wrong. And when you clear that pattern, you're able to go forward. And what I've loved with all my children in particular is watched, probably for my daughters in particular, since I began this journey, how much more confident you guys are. Now, what's really interesting from an epigenetic standpoint is when I clear my issues, that I'm actually not passing them on to my children. For me, that's one of the most important aspects of it, that I end whatever the limiting beliefs were that have passed on from my generational history, that I ended with me, so that my children are able to live their best lives but not tethered to my unresolved issues. The gift, I think, that EFT does that is allows you to have that open and honest conversation with your children without attachment to the outcome, about feeling judged. In fact, I remember a conversation when we were sitting one day overlooking the Harbour Bridge in Sydney, and we were talking about, parents, kids not liking their parents, and you said something, I can't imagine what it would be like to not like your parents, and then you said, well, there are times you annoy me, and my response straight back, well, that's your problem, not mine. because, and I had no charge on that response.
Yeah.
Whereas I think prior to tapping, I would have got quite hurt by a conversation like that, but I don't, because that's not my problem.
Yeah.
The other part was, I remember that conversation we had one day when I was tapping on some stuff that had happened in our lives, and I was actually able to have a really great conversation with both girls about how life was like for them growing up, for some of the issues that we've been to. And I remember having that conversation with you, and you said, "Oh, Mum, I don't want to go there." And I said, "It's okay. I'm okay with it." And there was stuff that the girls had to deal with because of circumstances that changed a bit of the way our family perhaps could have been. It gave me the wonderful ability to be able to say, "I am so sorry that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. I wasn't 100% present mother during that time." Without charge, without the need for any response, but for me to have the opportunity to say, "I'm sorry, that wasn't supposed to be like that," and move to that true place of forgiveness for myself. That's what was really important about. I could forgive myself for some of the things and be able to say it. I think to me that was one of the, for both you and Caitlin, was to be able to have that depth of conversation.
And I mean, we've always had quite an open relationship as it is, but being able to talk openly and honestly about, growing up and things like that, I now see the opposite side of that with my friends growing up. And when people my age are angry at their parents, often they don't realise, and it could be just, for something minor, but having anger issues towards your parents and someone that's supposed to be a support network, that comes out in other ways. So being able to, and I can see that now in my friends and other people that haven't had the opportunity to deal so deeply with stuff that they've grown up with. And so being able to talk openly and honestly, but I understand how I felt in certain situations and why it made me upset, and being able to talk to you about it and open honestly, and then we can move past whatever it was, and it was never an intentional hurt situation. It was always just this is what happened, and this is how I felt, and I felt neglected or whatever. But being able to recognize those qualities in the younger me and seeing how they have transpired into older version of me, and we still carry it, but I recognize it a lot more. So, but I also but we've also moved to that place of, oh, that's okay, that's fine.
That's fine. It's such a gift for me as a parent to be able to now know my children have this modality that can create confidence in and moving forward in their career, or attracting a partner, or whatever it is, because deep down it's not about you. It's about the patterns you've taken on because of the experiences of your life. And when you want to change that, you can. That's the power of this modality. So, Alissa, I'm hoping that there will be some mums showing their daughters this video. What would you sum up from your experiences with EFT, and how do you think it would help, women in particular? Let's talk about women. We could talk about young men as well, in their careers. How do you think this modality of tapping can actually benefit young people who want to further their careers?
I think the biggest point, we spoke about this before, was self-belief.
Yeah.
And whether there are instances in your childhood where you haven't felt appreciated, or you haven't felt like you were worth something, or that there's something that you missed out on, and gradually you convince yourself that you're not worthy of whatever it is that you really want. That's been one of the biggest blocks for me, is moving past that. No, I do deserve this. No, this is for me, kind of thing. That's probably one of the biggest things I found, because sometimes, especially in this world now, we can get constant knockbacks, and then all of a sudden you start believing that that's just how it's going to be all the time. And so being able to really bring back that sense of self-worth, and that no, I can do this. Even just that thought process, that's been one of the best, and also dealing with idiots, as we all do. So
angels disguised as idiots.
Okay,
angels disguised.
Sure. Same. So being able to recognize the way other people deal with things, and also because, not everybody handles situations the same way. So being able to step back and recognize, okay, they're thinking about it that sort of way, maybe, blah, blah. And sometimes if you know the person quite well and you're having trouble dealing with an issue with them, you can sometimes recognize how they may have come to that conclusion a little bit better because you understand how these thoughts reincarnate themselves throughout the life. So you have a lot more empathy, so you can approach things a little bit differently, and sometimes you need to change your approach to an issue or a work-related something or other situation where you can go at it with a different sense of self and So I think that's bringing out the best possible you, but also understanding other people, and that's probably the best part. And then you can manipulate that how you will, work your way forward.
Intend it and attract it, not manipulate. That's been awesome. I hope this has helped. This is an extraordinary modality. From my perspective as a mother, as I mentioned before, watching my children use this modality to create confidence, to overcome barriers that they have that are often self-imposed. We all got those self-imposed limitations. And, oftentimes I sit in awe of my kids and think, wow, what a difference would have made in my life if I'd had this modality then. But most of all, it's the ability to heal any relationships, to take your relationships with your children to that totally next level, and how it can impact on even young people who are just beginning their careers, and to help them overcome any limitations. What a difference it would have made if we'd had this modality when I was this age. So thank you, Alissa. I really enjoyed this, and I hope that it helps you. So if you would like some more information about how you can work with me, just click on the link below, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Bye for now.